The US government is slapping sanctions on Russian officials and entities that it says are responsible for the poisoning and subsequent jailing of the opposition politician Alexey Navalny. The Kremlin, which denies the allegations, says these restrictions are part of a plot to hurt Russia's economy, and it's threatening to strike back. Mobin Nasir reports.
Penal Colony 2, a prison on the outskirts of Moscow, is notorious for treating its inmates badly. It's where Alexey Navalny, an outspoken critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin, is currently serving a 2-year sentence for fraud. The US and EU say he's being punished for criticizing corruption in the Kremlin. And on Tuesday, Washington imposed sanctions on Russian officials for their role in Navalny's prosecution. It will also freeze the assets of Russia's State Scientific Research Institute for Organic Chemistry and Technology, which the US says was responsible for the alleged poisoning of Navalny last year. The European Union has also announced similar restrictions.
In response to events around the situation of Mr. Navalny, we reached a political agreement to impose restrictive measures against those responsible for his arrest and sentencing and persecution. And for doing that, for the first time ever, we will make use of the European Union global human rights regime to this end.
Prior to his latest detention, Navalny fell seriously ill in August while on a domestic flight. He was eventually transferred to a hospital in Germany, where doctors said he had been poisoned with a nerve agent. Navalny blames Moscow for attempting to kill him, and he's been calling on the EU to get tougher on Russian officials.
European Union should target the money and Russian oligarchs, not just old oligarchs, but also new ones like this circle of Mr. Putin. They must be real targets of sanction.
But the Kremlin denies any role in Navalny's illness last year and says he's in jail because of crimes that have been proven in a court of law. Putin says the sanctions are part of a plot to tarnish Russia's image and impede its economic development.
They are trying to shackle us with economic and other sanctions, block big international projects, interfere in social and political life, and in our democratic procedures.
Although Navalny was arrested during US President Donald Trump's tenure, Washington did not react at the time. Joe Biden's administration is taking a harsher tone against Moscow. It says Russia will have to pay a price whenever its behavior crosses the line. And with the Kremlin threatening to respond in kind, tensions between both countries are set to rise. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
Dana Lewis is a London-based journalist who's reported extensively on Russian politics. He says the restrictions show Washington and Brussels are getting tougher on Moscow's crackdown on dissidents.
Well, I don't think they're symbolic in the extent that they are targeting certain companies and certain individuals, and you can break it into two parts. You can talk about the poisoning of Navalny, and then you can talk about the jailing of Navalny. And I think that what you're seeing, first of all, is they very clearly come out and say that the FSB was to a high degree of certainty behind this, and that follows all of the independent investigations that, showed FSB agents were tailing him, using cell phone data, probably tracking him for a 2-year period. The FSB, which is the successor to the KGB, has really been outed on this. But the sanctions go after, one, the production of Novichok, this nerve agent that was used in Salisbury, and then probably an updated version of it used on Navalny by all accounts by different European countries that have examined it. So they will target some of the companies that were involved in the production of chemical weapons. And don't forget that Russia is a signatory to the CWC, the Chemical Weapons Convention, and then some of the individuals. And I think that's where your suggestion that they're largely symbolic is probably going to be borne out, and there'll be some disappointment with who has been targeted, because mainly you're hearing about Igor Krasnov, who became Russia's prosecutor general a year ago, Alexander Bastrukin, an investigative committee who handles investigations into major crimes, and reports to President Vladimir Putin. Viktor Zolotov, the head of Russia's National Guard, and a former Putin bodyguard, and who threatened Navalny in September 2018. And then the fourth one that the EU and the US have named is Alexander Kalashnikov, head of the Federal Prison Service. So those guys being targeted because they were involved in the jailing of Navalny, and then you have the companies that were involved in the production of Novichok. Already Bill Browder, who has been pushing the Magnitsky sanctions, has said these sanctions don't go far enough. You know, in order to get Putin to change behavior, in order to get Russia to stop poisoning opposition figures, using chemical, biological designed weapons in silencing opposition, both domestically and abroad, you have to squeeze Putin's inner circle, and that means going after those around him and the oligarchs and the rich Russians who support him, and these sanctions certainly don't do that.